Okay, so in the maps you submitted and with Chris' description, we got a couple quote-unquote tips, if you will. Hey, Crescent. Perfect timing.
Hello.
Hello, we are just about to start. Perfect.
Nice.
Right, but we'll be looking at a couple things. Firstly, you guys had some questions about team communication. And I think you wanted to do like some rollouts, so we'll be looking specifically like positioning and like some rotations that you can make. And one of the things that we want to highlight personally as well is several of the compositions that you guys run and how you can maybe improve a thing or two or execute a couple of them more effectively. So
we can get this.
We are going to start off on the more here.
Okay, so run a bit goat. Should we have Mercy Zen or Anna Zen?
I think we should play Mercy Zen.
I do like, yeah.
Anna can't really do it.
That is though a setup. Well, yeah, we did. Great. Okay, cool.
I don't know what they're gonna play. If they're gonna play Ghost, we're fucked. Only Tickling didn't. Actually, just want to play.
I mean, if they play the Zen Goats again, I can maybe be cheeky and get a pick in the backline on the Zen.
Okay.
I think if they play Zen Goats, we go Hammond.
Ooh.
Or we can do something really.
So you played against this team in some earlier maps and you're expecting them to run Zen Goats, or am I mishearing that?
I don't know actually where he based it off. I believe this was the first map we played against him.
Okay.
Vault, like Chris goes a bit of he stays behind, and we go around. Then Chris picks up the.
On that.
Let's start with this though.
Yeah, wait a couple seconds before and let Chris go and scout what they have, okay? So we stay in spawn.
Okay, so let's start off with some compositional things here. If you run dive comp with Summer Genji, so I have these two dive tanks and these DPS, I think those can work together quite effectively, quite well, if you will. Of course, like Winston Dave is your dive duo, and then I think with Summer, you can oftentimes set up plays very effectively with EMP Diva bombs. One thing I would recommend, though, if you're playing like this type of mobile composition, you could probably run Ana and Lucia, and I think that'll help you a lot more. Firstly, because then you have your EMP Diva bomb to combine, and your Diva Expert, the Nanoblade, so you have like two win conditions to really push up with, two very strong ultimate combos. And also, because you have like a lot of damage amp in your composition, you have Mercy and you have Zen. In your composition right now, there isn't really anything that is really going to benefit from damage boost. Like you can surely Discord maybe, but you can't really reliably damage boost anything with Mercy right now. So one of the things I would look into for compositions, definitely running Ana Lucia with this.
They might have sonar though.
Okay, so we're going around right, that's okay. Taking our positioning.
Not holding high ground. They have a wrist, Hog, Zenyatta.
Okay, let's go
Okay.
dive.
I think Dabs and I, we spoke a bit about this summer scouting. Could you elaborate a bit on how they could have maybe done it differently? Or?
What? I wasn't listening, sorry, could you...
Sorry, so we see now that they're summer scouting here, and by the time that they actually like begin scouting and name some heroes, they're about 15 seconds into the game. I think we spoke a bit about how they could have done it more effectively. Could you elaborate a bit more?
So it's probably easier if you indeed scout the Sombra. I mean the speed boost. So it's if you have a Lucia, you can speed out faster with the Sombra, so you can scout. And then it's best and easier if the Sombra scouts out the targets or the target focus of the dive. And then, while the monkey engages and counts 3, 2, 1, and then you go. But it's like the Sombra, we should like scout and point out the targets that you want to focus on the dive. That's mostly the easiest.
So definitely, possibly infiltrating backlines or flanks and whatnot, and possibly also being a bit quick, because by the time now we've been 15 seconds into the game, the entire benefit of knowing the enemy composition before they know yours is completely gone, because everyone can press tab now and see both team compositions. So I would recommend being a bit sooner in that, yeah.
You can either stay Sombra or switch to Tracer depending on what you feel like.
Okay.
Fine. I'm going high ground.
Summer's fine, that's good.
Just jump
Okay.
to hands.
So one thing I want to highlight here as well, especially on the Lucio, it's not this, but like, you have spam hero basically, puts up a lot of damage, puts out a lot of spam, does a lot of damage with spam. There's so much spam in this team composition that it might be very hard for you to actually push through this effectively if you don't have the Lucio speed boost. And then we're going to talk about this dive for a bit. In this case, your Summer went back already, and it's a bit ambitious, if you will, to jump through the window here, because you're completely open in line of fire. And your team is not really ready to follow up yet, because you have one person hanging around here, your Summer just got back. And once again, because you don't have speed boost or anything, it's pretty rough to go through. Okay, so we lose one.
You guys ready? Okay, I'll stay in the backline so we can...
Get up there.
It's a good pick.
Get up.
Alright.
Calls here are good. Okay, we get an extra pick.
Oh, we got 2 picks.
I like the call to from Procky saying get out. It was a good regroup call because you would have had closer spawn.
Quick go for a soft reset here. They're holding back on point.
Yeah, okay.
I should Discord us.
I'm coming to help you.
Right, this is a bit rough because in this case we heard the call to go back, but Narabos, I don't know if he did not have a shift online or something like that, but he could have like possibly either taken a safe position or he could have maybe even just gone back entirely. Because in this case, you would have had a one-man advantage, or maybe even 2 if you regroup very quickly and they were not back yet. But in this case, you kind of give up your advantageous push that you would have had. Same thing goes for Chris. I would not want to fight here. I would just want to take a safe position. Okay, we got up. Okay. In this case, it ends up working out, but once again, this Genji dash is really risky when you're still trying to regroup.
Discorded. Nordic half.
Oh, roll no wave.
It's no mate.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, here you should really dive the Ana on the left.
Indeed, no abilities online. Just use grenade and sleep.
Target. Hero, target.
Okay.
Target.
Right, we lose some people. Snipers.
All of them.
Go Hog, go
Ansem
Hog.
is in there, back from spawn.
Okay, I'm just gonna watch this fight play out a bit, and then we'll go a bit more in detail on the communication. Okay, start fragging, nice.
Oasis back.
Okay, so I think the enemy might retake, but I'm not sure.
Edge is in choke.
Wait, let me before the next push. Let me
Okay.
farm EMP for blade.
Zen minus 60%.
Wait.
Right, I'm gonna ignore that last call, Chris,
Can you hack this?
and I want to actually go back to how we went target calling here. Okay, so we get the first dash killer, that's fine.
Discorded. Nordic
Discord on Rodok, no vape.
Oh, roll no wave.
So now I have to think, okay, we've got an advantageous position, we can definitely push now, we're close, we can engage. Now the question is, what do we want to engage on? Roadhog has just used his vape, but he's currently behind a shield and he's unaided, so he's not going to die anytime soon. Orisa, not really an ideal dive target,
It's no mate.
but like Dab said, this Ana, just use sleep, is a squishy, and also use a grenade, so she has no sustain whatsoever. Also because I think the Zen just died at the end there. So we're hearing we're gonna hear a lot of split calls right now. Like some people are gonna say Roadhog, some people are gonna say no vape, and then Leroy is gonna say Ana. What I want you guys to do, and that's gonna be our first touch into team communication. Leroy is definitely your target caller, both in how he plays and because he plays main tank, of course. And one of the things you want to do in that case, if Leroy calls a target, you all want to focus down on it. But one of the things you want to do as well is just feed him information, and then he has to make the decision. But when that decision is being made, you need to give him some space in the communication for that to happen. You need to all be on that. In this case, a lot of things are being said, but no one mentioned this Ana.
Target. Hero, target.
Yeah, and I want
And as we can see, Lucia behind us, Hog, Ana. Or Hanzo behind us, sorry.
from spawn.
All Hog still there. Okay. So, small tip here for Crested. In this case, the comms were a bit cluttered as well, but if you want to make a really effective target call, there's 3 things you want to keep in mind. A is, of course, the hero, so say Ana McCree. You want to say a location, something like on point, back right, mega health pack, left top.
Yeah, we actually played already after this one.
Yeah, okay.
We did lots better than that.
Ah, okay, that's good.
This is really cluttered.
I see.
Yeah, the other one's much less.
Yeah. But yeah, last thing, you always want to name a status as well. For instance, we heard the Roadhog no vape, but also in the case of Diana, she had no abilities online, so she was a very free dive target.
Yeah, I didn't see Diana because I was around that corner.
I see. Right. But we're gonna end up cleaning this up. I'm gonna skip from work because we win this anyways.
So I'm waiting for EMP and then we.
Okay, it was a bit too far.
Chris, can you hack this?
Okay, so we heard the call to use EMP with Blade.
Just in case.
I'm just gonna EMP this to begin with.
Not EMP. Oh, okay.
Okay, so here's the thing. This is why I want an Ana in here. It's so much more effective. Let's say this is Ana. To combine, once again, EMP Diva Bomb and Nano Blade. Even if you only get 1 or 2 ticks out of the first one, or even nothing, the amount of, ultimate power that you can throw at the enemy is, out of this world, really. And it just helps so much in cleaning things up. I think that's a lot more of a stable pick than Mercies and Yachts in this case, once again, because you don't really have range damage to amplify. And because you just use Valkyrie, you can't really pocket your Genji with it either.
Okay.
We're gonna see how this thing plays
So
out.
I'm waiting for EMP and then we EMP. Blade.
Let me first build
Yeah, top right.
enough. Let me just quickly do one quick ultra push. Alright, shoot this Diva or Orisa.
Okay, so this is interesting because the enemy team is all setting up here because we also saw the Zen volley coming one. The only one on here is Ashe. That means that they don't really have a lot of split angles. Let me open up the map for this one. Second point, Hanamura. There we go. Okay, so basically 5 of them are here, and there's 1 of them on the perch here. What most teams tend to do, and what you maybe start to see as well if you go into higher ranks, is that they have possibly an Honor or Zen here on the low ground near the spawn, and maybe even someone in this side here. And that creates much more angles of pressure, maybe even someone on walkway, and then you have like a lot of crossfires going on. It's not really the case with this team, so it is kind of in your advantage. You can either hardcore dive this Ashe who's completely by herself with no peeling whatsoever, or you can really just negate the Ashe from getting any value and take the balcony. Let's see how we play it out.
I don't know,
Okay,
sleep.
I'm slapped.
It's got a bit, one of us is sleeping.
We go left.
Yeah, got ult.
Do you have Matrix?
Okay, fuck, my matrix thing was
Plus,
back,
you can
back.
damage.
Matrix, you go left and go.
Got me.
Okay, we lose one.
Fall back. I'm not there either.
That's a full reset then.
Reset.
We were a bit indecisive in this fight, it seemed like we're kind of just sitting around poking around.
Wow. That's who
Okay.
goes max range.
Okay, that's unlucky.
Fuck, I don't think so.
I guess Neribus was stuck. I kind of want to see if you could have maybe flown out, because if your monkey's jumping out and you had some decent HP on you, then you could have possibly went out as well.
Get out.
Because one of the powers of Hanzo ult is not just it's not just to kill things, it's also to zone
That's
people
who
off.
goes max range.
You could have possibly opted to get out, or even you could have opted to let yourself get hooked and fly after. Because in this case, your boosters get interrupted, so you couldn't escape effectively anymore. And then you lose mech again. Yes.
You got shield here.
You're without sports.
Okay. So this is one of the things that we noticed as well.
Wait for respawns.
It took a very long time for us to actually regroup until this, and we still do not have a D.Va mech. And now we got to see what we want to do. Do you want to jump off the map with D.Va and get the mech back?
That's fine.
Or do you want to poke around a bit longer to get that mech back?
When I blade, can I get orb and damage boost?
Yes.
Because basically we're still in Baby but we still haven't regrouped
Already
yet.
got orb on you. Just
Okay, how much people can get over that gap? Only DUs can get over.
So one of us cannot make that gap bridge, but I wouldn't really want to go to the outside part here too much. It's not beneficial to you.
You could jump one of the
Okay,
windows.
so let's look at it this way. Basically now you finally managed to regroup from that last push. So you need to be very clear in when you call for a regroup, and regrouping for me, at least when I played actively, it meant either you get back like alive or you just die quickly as soon as you can. And I would say in this case it probably took you a good 45 seconds to actually regroup, and now you still have to go in.
They're in the windows. They know.
Zen is split up from the rest of the team. I will not be able to get the Zen in the EMP.
Right.
So sorry.
Where's the sun?
He's in the spawn.
So you should dive him.
Indeed, if he's all alone, and they have
Yeah,
a Rodak who can
I
be.
don't know where in the spawn he was. It's
Okay.
like he's in the spawn. It's like where in the spawn. It's like
Yeah, okay. Then you just gotta ask for more information. Like always, if I was playing and like someone says like, "Oh, something is here," and I'm not sure, I just say location or like where, and just clarifying those things can really help out. But
yeah.
yeah.
If you know like the exact location is they're still around there somewhere. If you just like know you can kill it. It's not.
Yeah,
it's
My
easier.
intention was to like we were banking on them having EMP, not
Transcendence.
EMP, I mean Transcendence.
Mhm.
So I was looking to EMP the Zen so they couldn't trans against
Yeah.
the blade. And he was in the spawn, so I called out Zen in their spawn. I can't EMP him.
Yes. In that case, if he's all alone, Hanzo can't peel for him. If he's alone, Ashe can peel for him. Orisa cannot peel for him. Rodak surely cannot peel for him if he's all alone. And if you block or matrix the Ana heals, then that's literally a Zen by himself. In
Yeah,
that
but he's
case,
in their spawn, like I couldn't even touch him.
I mean, in that case, you can just literally take the fight 5v6 if he's on the low ground and take any target on the high ground. Because even though he's like hiding and making sure he doesn't get EMP'd, he's so far away from his team and from any sort of fight that he also cannot get any value.
Especially if they're on the high ground.
Indeed, because if there's Zen in his spawn, then who's going to protect his Hanzo if he gets bladed? Not a Transcendence at least. And even if they decide to do it, I mean, they're just giving up so much like weird positioning and then they're all clumped up on point. It's just not beneficial to them. So you could have just opted to, as weird as it may sound, ignore the Zen for a bit, because if he's literally like standing near the spawn gate where he will just get like auto healed and doesn't have any negating effects, then you can't really counter that with an EMP. Right, but let's look at some other things here.
Can you?
Because we lose one early, but one of the things I want to highlight. 5 more seconds. Okay, we're all clumped up here, just getting back.
In the windows, they know.
Zen is split up from the rest of the team. I will not be able to get the Zen in the EMP.
Okay,
Right.
so we use some Matrix already, early. A Monkey goes in, D.Va goes in.
He's in the spawn.
And in the meantime, when we're making this dangerous cross, it's really hard to actually protect the rest of our team. Because once again, we don't have speed boost, we don't have cover there. And our tanks are not nearby, and we just use a bit of Matrix, so we can't really
Can you hack him and I just
go through there effectively.
We gotta wait for Mercy. We're just staggering.
And here we get the same thing. We gotta wait. We're kind of taking some
Usually
space.
just go on point, and when they are on point, you EMP. So you get Zen.
Yeah, okay. in this case, once again, we're gonna end up getting away with it, but this walk is really dangerous to make a Zen against double sniper and a Roadhog with a hook there.
Yeah.
And since our tanks are still not nearby, it's really hard for our tanks to actually create pressure so our tank or our Zen can move through, and it's also really hard to protect him when needed.
No, don't go Ash.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna aim.
Okay.
Okay, they're all in the back.
Also, on the right side.
Dan's no longer alone, okay? I get them in
behind
the-
us.
So one of the things that we want to highlight now as well, how long have we been sitting on these ultimates for?
Mhm.
A while. We've literally only used Valkyrie at the first point, and we're basically around halfway through the match right now, so we could have definitely pumped out some ultimates by now and maybe gotten some value. Because in the one fight where we did win, nice, we got a pick.
On the right.
But in the one fight where we...
Ziyata is alone on the left.
Yeah. Sorry?
I think Ziyata, Ziyata is alone on the left there.
So that's alone on bottom left.
Top. No, top.
Yeah, or Zenyatta is actually alone there.
Yeah.
That's what's it called? That's Devious from the team we're reviewing.
Yep. Really low. Got her.
Okay, we got the pick. But once again, we're very split here. Like, Mercy's in the bottom here with Winston. Diva's in this side bottom. Zen is up top here. I think Chris is probably close there as Zenyatta, so in their back line. And I think Foku just jumped up here, and I think he's in the bottom touch there now. But we are very split right now, and we don't really have a clear idea of where we want to push. So try to get one of those things straight to make like even a basic strategy or a basic plan to go to can really help. So you wanted some specific tips on what's it called, like rollouts and rotations. So if Hanamura at second point, it's a very hard point to cap, I can tell you that. But there's a couple of things you want to do. Firstly, point seems very tempting, but there's one high ground here, 2, 3, and there's just so many angles that they can create that you definitely want to clear those high grounds. So ideally, you want to push like the top right is very common, but you want to at least clear the high grounds in some way. And right now, we're not really doing it yet, and some of us are doing it. So in terms of rollouts, try to like take the staircase, go up this high ground, clear it. If anyone wants to be here, you can clear it, and if anyone's on the Ashes position, then you can clear it out. In terms of rotations, that's definitely one of the things you can do.
On the right.
I can maybe have 1 or 2 people in the bottom here and clear an alternate angle, but it's okay.
Yeah. Big boy Roadhog with 600 HP dives me.
Unlucky. But then again, we were also in a bit of a dangerous position there. Okay, so we did lose our Zen. Are we going to commit or not? So here's what I want to hear from the shotcaller right now. We traded 1 up, we lost our Zen, but we killed their Zen, and I think we also killed their... I think the Ash died first, yeah, definitely. So now the question is, do we want to push this or not? That's definitely one of the things you want to highlight as a shotcaller. So we get a kill, nice. Okay, we use a bunch of ults, a whole bunch of ults. Okay, so this is rough, because once again, like just like we didn't really have a clear idea of where we wanted to position and where we wanted to push, we get some kills, and it's time to go in. Okay, sure, good call. Okay, we're jumping on point, but there's no communication on using these ultimates whatsoever. So I would say like using Valkyrie to engage is definitely like fine in itself. And you could like opt to say, I'm going to throw in that D-bomb to create pressure and whatnot, but you really want to communicate these things to our team, because right now, we were not even sure whether we were pushing, but we did. We weren't even sure where we wanted to push from, but we did. And now we're also investing ultimates without really communicating this to our team. So one of the things you want to definitely do is be very clear about whether you want to push an attack or not, or whether you want to just regroup, where you want to push from and what you want to do, but also what ultimates you want to use and how. Because right now, we're kind of throwing them out liberally, and we get like an extra kill, nice. And then we lose 1, we lose 2, and then a second prior, the Winston ult came in, and then EMP comes in.
I'm dead.
So basically right now, we used 5 ultimates, a lot of people died, and there was no communication on whether we wanted to use those ultimates, or how we wanted to use them. Okay, so I want to ask you guys right now, looking at that push right there, so you lost your Zen, but you killed their Ashe and their Zen. What ultimates would you want to use if you're taking that fight? Because you had all 6 of them at your disposal. Okay.
What you using this fight? You mean?
I mean, like
yeah,
if you can replay this fight, like what else do you want to use? EMP blade or EMP bomb?
EMP bomb.
EMP bomb, okay. Anything else?
Not necessarily, no.
Okay, so that's one of the things that you want to think about maybe when you're playing or when you're maybe just like strategizing a bit.
Yeah.
What ults do we want to use? And then once you decide what ults you want to use, you want to make a call on that, and we have to stick our guts to it. Because in this case, ults are being thrown all over the place in a situation that wasn't even per se advantageous. And I mean, in the end, they get some clutch picks maybe even, but still, using 5 ultimates without getting any progress on point whatsoever is really rough. And yeah, as
Okay.
Diva here,
Okay.
one of the things you want to do if you're being staggered as Baby Diva, shoot one of the supports.
We gotta get in fast.
Because you cannot jump off the map. Yeah, I
just go
tend to shoot
ramp
supports.
on them.
Yeah, like a couple things you can
Yeah,
easily hit,
absolutely.
probably Zenyatta, or maybe even Ana Hanzo, but like force them to shoot you if they're staggering you. Because in this case, yeah, you're walking to the edge, it's gonna take a while, you're gonna get pulled back, you're gonna get slipped, you're gonna get hooked, you're gonna get body blocked.
I don't know, maybe,
Feels
maybe you
bad,
hack
man.
And once again, it's gonna take a rough minute to actually regroup. You get slipped, get pulled a bit.
I'm saying I did.
We don't need.
It's unfortunate, yeah, but that's one of the things you want to keep in mind, especially as Diva or Baby Diva, how you can reset as quickly as you can. Sometimes it's jumping off the map, sometimes it's shooting one of their supports.
Yeah, we have no ults. Let's do it. Let's do it.
I think as Genji, you always want to follow your monkey because in that last fight you were on the Hanzo alone and you didn't follow your monkey. So
No.
either monkey helps you with the Hanzo because it was a good target, or you follow your monkey. But now everyone is doing their own thing and
Yes.
nothing really happened.
Indeed, and we're gonna get into this in just a second.
I was playing a bit in the back there because I was expecting the EMP blade.
Mhm.
So I was waiting behind so I could get a good overview of where to blade.
I see,
So I died right as the
You
EMP
guys
went
play
off.
Moira.
I see.
Yeah, okay.
I'll leave him assist for now, it's too late.
Okay. So we're playing... Okay, this is pretty rough right now. I think Gadget can maybe confirm this as well. Playing Rein Zarya with very little healing is a rough task to do.
It's almost impossible for supports, but also for tanks. Whenever
Yeah.
Ryan swings, especially against like a Orisa Hawk, the moment he drops shield, he'll get bubble, will get bursted really fast by a Hawk.
Yeah, you don't.
Probably.
After that, you probably receive like 300 damage. What's there to heal
I was
you?
about to
Is
say.
that not gonna heal him?
I was about to say, like,
No, yeah.
in their team composition, like, in the enemy's team composition, that is, they have a lot of spam damage, but they're not very flexible. Orisa cannot turn her shield or jump to different high ground. Rodok cannot shield at all besides being present on the battlefield, I suppose. And both their DPS have very limited mobility, and they do not have a lot of peeling and support. So, in general, once this team comp is set up, they're quite strong, but they're also relatively easy to dislodge if you have either something that can overrun them or just outpace them. And in this case, yeah, like we said, if Reinhardt swings once, he's going to take 40 energy for his Zarya, and he's going to take at least 300 damage on top of that. Xenorb is going to take about 10 seconds to heal that, in which case your shield is just down and the Reinhardt's dead. Or you're going to waste heal lamp, in which case you can no longer close the distance to the spam comp. So yeah, if you want to run like Reinhardt with Lucius Zen, you definitely want to add a Brig in there, basically by default these days. Or you can switch to Lucius Ana. Lucio Ana that can do a lot more. Okay, so now communicating a dry push, that's good. Okay, so here's a couple things I want to keep in mind specifically for Reinhardt. Cover angles. You see the Hanzo's there?
We're gonna do a dry push to try to get some ults out.
And we're walking up, but if we like, what's called shield, basically this way, we block any damage coming from the staircase and from this left angle. That could help your team out greatly. In this case, Orion's pushing in, and by the time Orion's like actually no longer in range to block damage, the rest is finally coming through. Yeah, we get pulled, a lot of nasty things happen, and we're really low. In this case, Crested is like quite close to them. For the others, if you notice that your runner is going too deep and you cannot see him, like tell him. He might notice, like sometimes he might notice it himself that he's like not getting follow up or not getting healed and whatnot. But in general, if your runner is trying to do something that you cannot facilitate for him, like if you're not close with Lucio, if you don't have a Zarya team bubble, just tell him, and it gets a lot easier. In this case, things get nasty. And once again, we get kind of staggered. Right. And here's the thing at the end. Dabs just touched on this already. That I actually want to highlight. Okay, so Chris is just coming from here. There was a Genji here, and our tanks were up here. What you guys seem to struggle with at times, and we're going to see this a bit more through the match footage, is that both your DPS tend to play a relatively flanky lone wolf playstyle. And although like having one or two of those players can be good, definitely, you definitely want to see how you can divide this between roles. Because in this case, what we also saw in your dive, basically your Sombra and Genji are oftentimes on kind of often around doing like split things. And that by default also means that your tanks have to play very closely together. Because in this case, I'm going to mark his L for Lone Wolf, is if Chris is Lone Wolf somewhere and Focus Lone Wolf somewhere else, and they're not following up on their monkey as effectively, then that by default means that Diva would have to, like, or Zarya in this case, would have to follow the main tank for damage. So we have to link these two together. What that does, first of all, your backline is then completely free, because both your DPS are doing like the things that they're doing basically without really peeling or playing around the team too much. And because of that, your tanks both have to be together on the same target to actually get offensive value. But in that case, A, your backline's really free, but B, your supports will probably not be able to help you very well. If both your DPS are playing like kind of off angles by themselves, it's really hard for your supports to actually help you out. And if your tanks subsequently have to do some wonky things to make up for like the lack of damage or focus at times, then it's going to be incredibly hard for your supports to even stay alive, let alone keep you alive.
Lol, by the way.
Sorry?
Lol, by the way.
Lol. Oh yeah,
You
sorry.
see that?
Oh yeah, I made it a link. Sorry, I didn't recognize it as you, but sure. But it's definitely one of the things you want to keep in mind, and we're going to see it a bit more through the review. So one of the things that I'd look at is definitely have one of your DPS really play around your communicative roles. In this case, that would be Plotsky and Crested, aka shotcaller, targetcaller, aka main tank, main support. And I think the handies will be possibly if we can get Chris on, but we'll get more into details there later. But if you have one of your DPS that really can either peel for your backline or follow up with like your main tank, it's going to be so much smoother and so much easier to get pushes going and to get kills confirmed. Because in this case, we're like once again we're all kind of on split angles,
They use some ult, I heard.
and it just looks very scrambled.
Yeah, but they're also farming the other ones.
Yep. Divius, go Moira.
Sure. Oof.
Okay. Okay, so Davis is swapping to Moira, which will definitely help the
You
tanks
might have
out.
to trade the blade for
I think
Zeno.
Zen is trans again. He's back in the old position away from
Right.
his team.
So the Moira will definitely be able to help out your tanks a lot more, especially in close quarters. But then again, your Moira also doesn't facilitate these two DPS too much. So I would definitely recommend Ana over what's it called? Over Moira. Would Gadget agree to that, or?
Fully.
Yeah, okay.
With the range and everything, basically
Especially
when you're
the range.
fighting points, only thing like really Moira can do is follow tanks and go with it. But meanwhile, Genji can already be quite deep on like the Ana and Zen, which are almost free targets. Same for the Sombra. Yeah, no way that Moira can in the meantime help them.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to reach you.
Indeed.
So it's either like for Genji, it's like either hey get a kill, then you get out, or you die basically, because you'll no way get a healing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, they're off. Okay, guys, you can just go in. There's no way I can get a good hack off on the
Okay, so in this case, we're forgoing any high ground. It's actually weird, because in this case, even though like you're playing against spam and you have like relatively immobile heroes, Moira is actually relatively suitable for pushing that tight like corridor and pushing on that little high ground, because you can balance your orb off and get some healing and then just spam heal multiple people. So like keeping up some pressure on those high ground is good, because A, there's free targets there firing at you, but B, going into point is just a massive open section where Moira cannot heal as effectively, whereas pushing that high ground is just a lot tighter of a corridor and will help you greatly in the Moira healing. Okay, so we lose one, we lose two, we get pulled in,
Yeah. You're down 2.
and we are regrouping. Unlucky.
Down 2 up 1.
Okay, so we didn't clear high grounds too effectively. The enemy team did use some ultimates, and they did a good, what's it called?
I'm just gonna play
Or is a halt into Hanzo ultimate. And yeah, we spoke about this when we were preparing it. We haven't used this blade once, I think, and it's been 7 minutes into the match.
Call the amount
Exactly.
of people we have up and how many
Yeah, I
they have
just
up, right?
noted that I've been holding it for way too much.
Yeah.
Ash are backside. Hanzo is on window still.
Okay, so we're scouting back, that's okay. Been detected. Okay, another stagger. Definitely one of the things you want to keep in mind and like work on is just saying when a fight is lost,
They stone it where I
and definitely regroup very effectively. Because in this case, we stagger again, and you get shot in the head.
discovered by stone arrow by accident there.
Yeah. But now, once again, another stagger. So basically, when we lost a fight with like 1 minute remaining, we could have possibly pushed out 2 fights. We're now in 1 fight territory, and by the time Genji's back, we're at like 17 seconds. That means we might have to suicide touch on point with a man down. That's how badly we're staggering right now.
We're hesitating too much.
Going easy, get on point.
Just charge the point. We want to do this without any planning. Just go on instinct here.
I mean, it's weird. Like, I can see why you, why you will like want to get into your instinct now, but going in balls deep without like any pre-planning is going to spell disaster. And
I mean, I was just going through my head and was like, every single plan we've done failed. We don't know
Yeah.
anything. Let's just go.
I see. But yeah, same thing. 3 people in the high ground wasn't cleared. You get Hanzo ulted and dragged. Lose 1 or 2 people. Yeah, we might be able to get a grapple here, but like, it's just so rough the way we're fighting around. It could have been that much cleaner.
I got
He's
hooked.
ult. He's gonna ult.
come back as Tracer.
Right, so it was unlucky that Plusky didn't have his Graviton online. Okay, one of the things I want to highlight though, you definitely cannot die with Grav there. It's last fight, it's overtime. You lose some people back and forth. So in this case where you lose some people back and forth, like Crested just died, for instance in this case, and you're kind of forced to pull out a blade in a bit of a clutch situation, you want to get your ultimate value out very quickly because they have a closer spawn than we do. So if we can kill them quickly, that's definitely beneficial, but still rough. And if they get time to regroup, we're just doomed. So this Grav has to be thrown out.
In that blade too, I don't know why you went to the Hawk. I mean, the Orisa was already half HP. Just kill the Orisa. You might have turned that fight.
Might have been more favorable, yeah.
Yeah, I just saw that. I think I might have missed that.
Yeah. But ideally, we definitely want to use the Graviton there. Possibly when a Genji's still alive, because even if you can get like 1 or 2 slashes in on someone, it just helps you that much. And yeah, we do eventually, like, regardless of whether we actually went to touch the point, it wasn't going to matter too much because we lost 1, 2, 3 here, and we were not going to turn that around, I feel.
Well, it's just so frustrating about that entire round, at least from my perspective, as Genji. It's just that we pretty much staggered through that entire second point.
Yes.
And there were basically like no opportunities for me to blade, and I just held it the entire time, and it was just felt like or in general we were doing nothing.
I mean,
Did you go back, Argyll, like the almost the what is it? The second to last push.
Yeah. Oh, when I skip back to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they did the almost try push with Moira.
Yeah. Oh, the one that went straight on point.
Yeah.
That will be this push right here.
Yeah.
There we go.
The first one. Yeah. So can you pause there? Yeah, pause.
Okay.
So they have 2 DPS on top and the Hawk. So what you want to do is you just push on point, you pressure the Orisa. Once the Hawk drops down, that's when you want to blade and take out their DPS on top. And they have no protection. So you take them both and then have a big ass blade.
Definitely, yeah. Was that the comment you wanted to make there, Dabs?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think people died pretty early there. That's why I held
it.
I was lost.
Yeah. It's not per se about your blade.
No, it's just in general when you were playing against that sort of composition, because it's very hard to get like a good blade off. Yeah. But you need to force the Hawk off the high ground if you want to take out your DPS, so you're not gonna get anything with the blade.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's get back on our defense now. Playing Ana Lucio, a lot of people on Hanamura play Ana Zen, but Ana Lucio is still definitely fine. We have a Mei, Ash, doing the classic Argyll trick, I like it. Right, this is good.
Learn from the master, you know.
Yeah, learn from the best Kappa. Okay, but a couple things. So I think someone said like either Dotes or something, so we know that they have 3 mobile tanks, and we do have a Mei, so then one thing we can definitely forego, trying to wall off the choke. So we're all close still, and Mei is still close. Okay, so let's look at some things, because our Ana is really close to us, okay? Okay, so our Ana is in this case really close to us, which is currently beneficial. But one of the things you want to do, specifically if you're playing Mei, if they have a stationary comp like Reinhardt Zarya, you can definitely wall off this choke. As soon as they have dive, Mei is probably more or less a backline peel. Like, in general, there's better, like, what's it called? DPS heroes than Mei against the dive comp. But if you are playing Mei against the dive comp, like in this case, you definitely want to play closer to your backline, because they're probably not going to mess with your front line too much if they play it well, but they might want to definitely go on that Ana or that Ashe of yours, especially with 1, 2, 3, an armor pack, and a Discord orb. So one of the things you want to do as soon as you hear like that they have dive or dotes or something like that, position your Mei closer to your backline.
Okay.
Okay, because now as you see, we wall off the Zen, but in the meantime, Davies is basically dead already. And they just speed past you and negate all sort of value you could have had. And once again now, okay, Crest is being bullied a bit, but like I'm hearing no target calls whatsoever, and if I just look at the last 5 seconds there, we lose Devious, okay. Someone's fighting, I think that's a Lucia right there. Plusky's fighting a Winston. Foku is either going for the Hammond or the Diva, and Crest is just trying to stay alive on point. So now I want to know, what's the plan and who are we focusing? Because it's currently 3 or 4 different things. Okay, now we hear break. But get the break, okay. We do end up like kind of getting kills there, but once again, if we had like the calls on point, it would have been that much easier. Yeah.
Question: if you're playing like this, if you're playing like slow comp with Ryan and all against a dive comp, wouldn't it be smart to just play on point?
I wouldn't want to just play on point. What I want to do if I'm playing Hanamura first, there's two ways you can go about playing Reinhardt against dive comps. The first one is the most popular, which is I'm going to position my Reinhardt just around here and just not give him any space to dive. Like as soon as they shoot their head in the choke here, that's damage for him.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the most common way, because then you can at least create pressure early on so they cannot just dive freely. Second option would be to play close to your backline, but if you look at Hanamura point A, a lot of people still play dive on Hanamura, even though a lot of people like solo queue games and whatnot play a fair amount of death ball. But there's so much high ground there. If we just hold on point, we give up this, we give apartment, balcony, hut. This is all the high ground that we give up, basically. So I would say either hold really close and make it hard for them to dive in, or take a position where your Reinhardt can possibly like play close to the backline, but it's not really per se the number one go-to.
Okay,
so trade some people back and forth. It's really anyone's game.
You make Diva and lever. Stagger.
Get some kills, nice. Good freeze on the Hammond here.
Fuck, get out.
Hammond gets out, that's okay. There's still Baby Diva on the right though.
Diva's going to cliff.
Okay, so one thing I want to highlight here, your Reinhardt died that fight. If you use self-bubble like earlier,
Fuck, get out.
okay, the ball gets out, unlucky.
Diva's going to cliff.
Okay, so even if we use self-bubble here, if they speed on us with 1, 2, 3, and a Discord orb, then it can definitely be pretty rough. In this case, Monkey's low and Baby Diva's not there and whatnot. But in general, you cannot hold this like close hold on the choke if your Reinhardt's not there. There's no way that you're gonna live through it. Yeah, eventually you get like the picks and the kills and all that. But making that move of standing really close to Zarya is super risky and I would not recommend it.
Yeah, fine.
Sun is half.
Okay. The honor positioning right now, I think Dabs and I spoke about it for a bit. It can work now, but if there's ever a Widowmaker on the high ground here, your Ana's practically dead on point. It's just a free sideline.
Ready to wall.
It's dive Mosky, it's nodes.
Yeah, we can isolate this.
Jump on top of it.
Okay. This is good, like, we're waiting. This was actually a really good, like, what's it called? Defense way, like, okay, they pile drive in, that's fine. Instantly walled off. Instantly focused by 3 people, instantly frozen, slept. Like, this one was really good, because in this case, you just all turn on the same target and use your abilities on them. This was a really good defense, if you ask me.
I almost have Blizzard.
Don't hold too far. Save speed, okay? Or amp, I mean. Because if they jump over us, we're gonna need to speed away into them.
When they dive in, they're gonna probably bubble. So break bubble quickly, and then we can use shadow.
Okay, so this is good. These are like the type of calls that I really like from a shotcaller, making an ultimate plan, if you will. But now we're going to see how this plays out. It's going to be a bit different.
Probably.
Okay, so
Break bubble?
okay, we see the bubble go down. We have our plan. We're going to start breaking the bubble. Break is dead. No one breaks the bubble.
I'm gonna Blizzard point.
We're going to Blizzard point. Apparently, we already used Bob as well.
Do it.
Yeah, we're throwing in Blizzard. Sure. Diva Bomb goes out. Things get messy. B-drop gets thrown by the enemy team. Okay, so this is strange, because we had like one plan going into this fight. We bait out the monkey bubble, we all focused down the bubble, and we shattered them after. And we did at some point see the monkey bubble got dropped, and it was actually called as well. So, and then after that, no one focused the monkey bubble, and 1, 2, 3 ultimates got thrown out. So we had like one plan for making one single ultimate work, the Earth Shatter. But instead, we didn't follow up on a plan to follow up on the Earth Shatter or to create a space for it. We just did a whole bunch of different things. And that's one of the things I want to highlight. I think the call to break Monkey Ball and whatnot is good. But then the rest has to be like with the shotcaller in this case, because if like your shotcaller makes a plan for something to do and people don't follow up on it, then it can feel to him that he might as well not be doing it, if you will. I'm not gonna like be rough or call people out, but if you have like a plan for a certain ultimate that you want to use, or you have a certain strategy to how to take a defense, then you definitely want to stick to that strategy, especially in scrims. Because in this case, like, I think the plan for having a good shatter off of bursting the monkey bubble was definitely good, but that we all need to be on the same page. But instead, we kind of use 3 different things, and we saved the Earth Shatter, and we actually did not stick to our plan.
I think the problem was that they didn't really play with the bubble, so nobody was inside of it, and also we got split off by the dive. Like me and Leroy were split off from the rest of the team.
I mean, but
So-
still, if you
Yeah.
call to like just break the monkey bubble and shatter, then 1, 2, 3 ultimates were used, and it was not shatter. There's definitely something off there. So you want to stick to your strategy, and even if you have to swap strategy, at least call it. But once again, like it's similar to how you had the one attack push where you used 5 ultimates when it was like a bit undecisive, if you will. In this case as well, we used 3 ultimates. Sure, we hold on to the point, but like the one plan we actually had was just not abode by.
Health pack.
Where did the bubble actually drop? I was
Um,
listening to you, and it was
Okay,
like,
Monkey jumped up like, not even jumping into your team, just jumped up a lot, dropped his bubble, and you charged away from the bubble, and it was actually called the bubble was dropped. I can quickly rewind for you. A bit too far.
Break bubble quickly, and then
Okay,
when you
break bubble
shatter
quickly.
for this fight. And bubble.
Monk is going in, bubble dropped there.
Break bubble.
That's where it was dropped.
okay, yeah.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, that's true, by the way. I remember now.
It happens.
I actually wanted to shatter, but then it was like frozen. It's like okay.
No.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
I mean, you cannot be frozen. They were frozen,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, I mean, like, I was gonna use the May
Yeah.
nailed.
That's the point I was trying to make. Like, if you plan on using shatter, then everyone in your team has to make sure that you do use that shatter and not throw in other ultimates without communicating
using
it.
something else, and they're gonna use
Yeah.
it.
Okay. So here's the thing: they just swapped to Widowmaker, and we definitely had a kind of aggressive positioning with supports already, right, Gadget? In general.
Yeah, it was kind of aggressive, especially for when they have dive and everything, they could easily reach you. So yeah, it was.
And we're
quite
also
hard.
picking sidelines every now and then, which in this
Yep.
case gets punished by a Widowmaker.
Widow.
Right, so Hammond's spinning circles like a madman.
Widow walked.
Right, so here's one thing I want to highlight. Dabs had a comment on DPS positioning here. I'll quickly load up the map for you. Because we're still playing against Dive and Widowmaker, and Ash is here and May is here. Okay, Dabs, floor is yours.
I can't remember what I said.
Okay. So let's put it this way. The enemy team's playing Dive with Widowmaker. You have a May on the balcony and an Ash in the hut. Would that be ideal? Yes or no?
No,
The no,
I don't think so.
where's the widow?
Widowmaker's set up main, like, on the high ground there.
Yeah, so you always want to have like a crossfire. So
Yeah,
the problem is
bridge.
Ash and May are on the same. Exactly, you want Ash on the bridge or the May on the bridge, but it's probably best that Ash is on the bridge and then the May can see on the balcony. But now your 2 DPSs have like the same angle on
Into the choke.
window, so you always want like a sort of a crossfire.
And one thing as well, because they're still playing Hammond and whatnot,
Yeah.
if he ever decides to go for the Ash up top here, who's going to help him? You have
Easy
Ryan
back
Zarya,
over.
a Lucio in spawn, and an Ana with a limited sideline.
Mhm.
That's pretty rough. Okay, we do get one kill though.
Number.
Is it Anna? Please focus. I'm missing.
Trying to focus Ana. But once again, we're kind of split here, because
Anna.
I heard you.
it's all fine that we sleep with Deva, but like,
We didn't.
we're so split here. There's like 2 people on the high ground there. One person was fighting the Ana. We get to sleep on someone, and it's once again just very messy. Try to like make an accurate target call and stick by it.
Mister.
Ah, fuck.
Watch main, watch out, main. Widow's playing main. Widow's playing main, watch out, watch out, watch out.
And that beat drop as well.
Hanzo.
Even if Narabos was still alive, I do not think you're going to win that 2v5, I believe it is. And they also have closer spawn, so I would not recommend using beat drop here. So definitely one of the things, even if your shotcaller himself is not certain, you can always say, like, just say how many you're up or down, and then we can just say, okay, we're not ulting this, we're just going to lose this fight, go for point B. Oh yeah,
Yes, see.
coaches, coaches hate him. Watch how this cameraman spins like Hammond. Right. This is good though. We swapped to Hunt. Okay, we're swapping to double sniper now, and we got like 2 picks at the end to stabilize, which is really helpful to us.
You jump one, save you there.
Get this goal.
I would have just died.
Okay, so let's look at some things. Okay, so we're playing double sniper now, which means that the composition you had on your offense was actually pretty good. Having Mercy Zen, the damage amp your snipers, is so helpful here. Hammond, it's an interesting pick. It can work because there's like a lot of high grounds to maneuver in between. But now we're in a situation where our comp is a bit of everything. Like, we have some dive with aggression. We have like 2 snipers. We have like a very deathball centered support lineup, and we have one stationary roundhead that doesn't really have anywhere to go with his Hammond or his DPS. So once again, I would just like focus on having a bit more of a harmonious composition. if you want to play double sniper compositions, it's mostly Mercy's End by default, and then you kind of need dive tanks, especially on this point, to even contest high grounds for them and create angles.
Leroy, whenever you have the chance to use Shatter, they have wall hacks.
Left, I think.
Yeah, watch out, DPS, watch out, DPS.
When you use Shatter, you use the monkey.
Okay, we're making a call. Good one, Blasky. Alright, this is good. Taking the angle on the sniper, taking the aggression, that's good. Now here's what I'm wondering. So our Hunter's up here, and Hammond's consisting up there, but like, I want to know, Leroy, do you feel lost in this composition?
I feel, yeah. You know what the thing is? They all, I know they only need one tick.
Yeah.
I know they only need one tick. Everybody's scattered around the point, so everybody's up in the high ground and all that.
Yeah.
If they just dive on point, it's like instant tick done. It's
Yeah,
like,
I see. They can, if you want to play Ryan, you can always hold up here with Ryan, and if you want to contest point, you can like even just jump onto it here without even having to charge.
No, you want to take the other side. The bridge.
Yeah. Even a break side, yeah. Okay, so things are messy. Using people back and forth, using Shatter is definitely good.
Yeah, that's too far.
This charge is also a bit further than we'd like, but we end up cleaning it. Charging it onto this pillar would have been just fine.
Yeah, I need to adjust angles. Tomahawk told me that.
Yeah.
Someday.
General tip for Reinhardt, the shorter you can make your charge, the better. Less chance to get slept, less chance to take damage. Hold up.
Yeah, I have to take more angles. I like to take short
okay.
angles. It doesn't always
I see.
point out.
One of the things as well, why short charges are good, if you charge quite a short distance, then in general you will be closer to your team. So you can be helped out.
Yeah, I know.
I have mine.
Chris, tell me where you want Sonic. Okay.
Leroy, can you play monkey for diving ability?
So you don't want to stand there as Hanzo against the Widow.
Here.
It's a dangerous position.
Because window. Another window with high ground. This
No,
side,
because
and
they have
dive.
Widow. I mean, versus the Widow, I mean, and the dive, of course. You don't want to stand on the high ground on the right as Hanzo there in the middle. Because the Widow can peek you from just whatever angle she wants and then kill you. Depending on where they come from, of course, but you don't know that normally.
And you're also quite exposed to dive, like we said.
We only have one tick. No offense there.
It's fine.
It's not my...
Right, but once again, Ploski did make the call to go Winston, we didn't actually do it. It's one thing to keep in mind again. Okay, we got a pick here, that's good. There's a Diva Bomb. Okay, we get some picks.
Gonna mine point.
And a monkey on point. Okay, in this case, our setup was once again a bit wonky, and I think we kind of end up clutching this almost on the back of 3 picks by Chris here on Widowmaker. But still, our original positioning, Hanzo was vulnerable, Reinhardt's very vulnerable, and because Reinhardt's like kind of stuck on point, he cannot peel for his backline anyway, so they get a bunch of kills on us.
We are down numbers.
Okay, now it's time to stall. Hammer can spin for a bit, that's fine. The mech, nice.
Get monkey low.
Yes, you want to. I want to also keep in mind that there's a Widowmaker on the high ground, and someone has to deal with it. Okay. Okay, so this is not really
monkey way, yeah.
It's not even a monkey, like, one of the things here, if they have all the control over the high ground here, as a tank, you cannot do much more than buy time for your team. It's up to your DPS to get that Widowmaker off the high ground. So I would not charge, I would just stand on point and shield, and buy as much time as you can with your healer. And maybe swing at a tank or two, but, like, charging this way means that your DPS here no longer has a shield or some time to go for the Widowmaker. And you might take a lot of damage. In this case, you, like, get through unscathed. If the Widowmaker hits a headshot, you're suddenly at, like, 200 HP. And you're pretty much doomed.
I also saw that, like, everybody's jumping and they have a Widow and you should do that. Like,
it's a very niche specific thing, yeah, but bunny hopping generally makes it very easy for Widowmakers to just hit you at the peak of your headshot, and you have less AD strafing mobility and, like, possibilities to strafe when you're in the peak of your jump. Yeah, it's a very specific individual thing.
Seems to be going right side flank.
Sleeping.
Yeah, we're going a bit deep. It's time to get the hell out of dodge. Nice. Okay, so they're now running full dive. Okay, we stick to the tracer, that's fine. Once again, our comp is still not really ideal. Get a pick, nice.
You're going all top.
All top. They use bait drop, they use blade. And once again here, this positioning as Widowmaker is very rough if you don't have a Mercy, because Hammond cannot really peel for you, neither can Tracer. neither can Ana, neither can Lucio, neither can Ryan. So once again, you could have maybe played a bit closer with your team near the spawns, or once again, if you had a different composition with like Winston, Diva, Mercy, it would have been much easier to take this positioning. But in this case, you cannot really hold that positioning too well.
Yeah, I also should have waited for the Genji to commit on me before I...
Yeah, definitely. Playing Widowmaker, what's it called? In like higher tier scrims and whatnot, in my experience at least, from what I've seen, it's a lot of people grappling much later and much more defensive rather than going for cool trick shots.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm much better with it already. This scoring was a couple of weeks ago and I really already saw that. Destiny also had a weapon view from me on this map.
Nice. Right, but we get kind of back and forth.
I'm dead. Genji on point half. Lucio half.
Right, and then at the end, yeah, we were a bit split and we end up losing this map. Okay, that was the first map and it already took an hour, so I guess we have to make a bit of haste. Let's go to King's Row.
It's already been an hour? Jesus.
A little bit less, like 50 minutes.
Honestly, I think Nepal can be very short.
Yes, I know that.
Yeah,
No one-
it was really short.
Not gonna
I
lie.
would like to note though, this was probably the worst map we played ever.
It happens.
We're putting
So-
DPS on Ana.
We'll see how things go.
We're not actually all this bad as a
It
player.
happens.
You might think all us improvement right now here.
Okay. But let's see, we're attacking. Okay, we have... This is pretty interesting itself. Ryan's are with Lucio, pretty good for King's Row. In this case, we have a Moira, which, once again, usually people tend to play Ana, but you can play Moira if you're more comfortable. But in this case, there's like a couple things with the DPS here. A, we have double sniper with a Moira. It's not going to facilitate each other too well. B, you have double mid-range sniper, which means that you do not have as much mobility as a Widowmaker would have. And in general, you also do not have as much range. So you need to keep in mind that if anyone ever dives you as one of these mid-range snipers, you're much more exposed and much more vulnerable than if you were playing Widowmaker. And if they pick a counter Widow like they have now, it's going to be much harder for your DPS to actually take her out because they will generally have a range advantage and also a slight mobility advantage. In this case, I'm curious to see what these two will do to your DPS.
I think Genji might be in the right
Save a
spot.
Widow, yeah. That's new.
Yeah, it's fine.
Alright.
Let's push in straight away.
Okay. Use the damage orb, we'll get more to that later. Okay, now where we want to go.
Genji's behind us still. He did the same thing last time.
Right, so taking this angle I think is good, because that means your snipers can actually take some high ground. One of the things I noticed here, and I think Gadget can maybe elaborate a bit more, is how we use Moira's abilities there, because I think they were used a bit too lenient, if you ask me. Can you elaborate, Gadget?
I didn't see quite well, so if you could replay it.
Okay. Whoop.
Because
Let's go
I have
back.
like the bottom bar going over it, which is
Ah,
quite
okay.
often okay, yeah.
Yeah, he's fine.
Okay, we start going in.
Let's push
Damage
in
orb out.
straight away.
Take some cover. Shift in.
Genji's behind us
Wait.
still. He...
I didn't even see that.
The Genji was behind you.
Mostly try and focus like, hey, if a Genji is behind, like, hey, either just call out, but most of the times you can even like walk away with an orb or something. Fade is something you really want to use if more people are basically on you with either close range, if you like really need to stay close because your Ryan's out of position, you need to heal him up. And you later need to get out because like multiple people are focusing you. That's really the only reason you want to use Fade. Otherwise, you're really exposed because you basically have no mobility besides that.
Yeah. And moreover, heal orb in general gives you a bit more value than damage orb. Like in terms of what's it called? In terms of numericals, definitely. But also, if you start pushing up with your Ryan or Lucio and you throw a heal orb along the way with some regular heals, that's a lot of healing for you.
Okay. Less aggressive.
Yeah, it's not even per se about like aggressive or passive. It's just literally what ability do you opt to use.
Okay.
So we go in. Bubbles get rid. Yeah, sorry.
I think here the two DPSs are freaking out because of the Genji. And because of that, I think like the front line is going forward while the two DPSs are just triggering about the Genji. So I think one of the DPS should like take the high ground on the right, probably the Hanzo, and the Ashe should just focus on the front battle and keep your eye on the Genji. But like two DPS committing on a Genji, that's a lost fight already.
Especially with double sniper on the same angle.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's keep those things in mind. Right, so
Boom.
we lose one, lose two.
Oh my god, I'm dead.
And now we get
There's no
kind of...
pressure on their Widow.
Especially the Widow has all the free time and space in the world.
All numbers down, get out. All numbers down, get out if possible.
Okay, and they'd rest the one pick we had, so we're all full again.
We need to push through hotel left side. Help Zarya, left side.
I'm fine.
Okay, so interesting call to go through hotel left side, because that does mean that your DPS will not have like a lot of range or angles.
To avoid angles from...
And double, with this lineup, it's not ideal with these two DPS players.
Indeed.
I mean, Ash and Hanzo.
It's hard to push in.
Okay, their Genji's behind us, okay, he gets back.
Inside.
Okay, we got a pick.
Incoming.
Nice.
You got a pick.
Get 2 picks. So Chris, in this case, he did actually take the high ground, but there was not any cover from his team. So once again, it works out in this case. But if anyone decided to ever dive you or punish you, there was no teammate to help you out.
Target, Leroy, target.
So I think taking a high ground here is good, but if you want to take this high ground, have your team help you with that and facilitate it.
Sorry.
Okay, get all the kills. That's nice.
Good Nere, good taking up on that. Don't be shy, Leroy, I trust you.
Okay, so we're all standing on point here, we're capping. It doesn't get much faster if we put 5 people on the point. We can definitely maybe indeed push some spawns or at least take some early space.
They
They have Doomfist, nice.
Doom Ash.
Doom might go there.
More, I stand on point.
Okay, so we could hear the Doomfist at least on the audio recording, so I'm wondering if one of the players could hear it. So the Doomfist is probably on the right side. And by the time we cap it, every one of them respawn as well because we killed them all so quickly. That means we don't really have any staggers to push, and we also didn't take much free space. There's a Doomfist behind. Unlucky.
Well, maybe a question for Gadget. What do you want the Moira to do there? Because she's on payload right now.
Prefer like at least scouting for flanking angles. Try and listen to sounds. Like you can't do too much in a situation because when you're Lucio and like you have your Lucio and tanks right now pushed up, Lucio is fine with it because he can speed out. Like Argyll said, you don't have like the staggered kills. So yeah, you need speed there. But in the meantime, Moira can listen to sounds like the Doomfist abilities and such. I think from where she was standing, she could have heard him already step, I think, quite well. Because, yeah, range with sounds and such can go pretty far, for what I know.
And also, in terms of like what people push up and what people like play around the payload. Reinhardt, sorry, I would like to have some early space up front and get some poke damage in. That means Moira has to heal them at times, and Lucia has to get them into position. And that leaves one of your 2 DPS to push the payload.
See, there's no healing from the Moira now because she's
Indeed.
on the payload.
Yeah.
And also, one of the things I like to do, like practically anyone can do this, but I would like one of the the shotcaller or the targetcaller to do this. As soon as you cap a point, like press tab and see who spawned where. Because if you like sometimes have a situation like, hey, the Zen and the Ana, they both died in the close spawn, and there's like no one else around them. Rush them down, kill them.
Go back to point. Go back to point.
Right. Once again, stagger. Like, if you lose 1 or 2 people there, you could just say, okay, let's wipe this. We'll run into the enemy team, hold all your mouse ones, and get the kills in quickly. In this case, we kind of staggered out and kind of gave him practically a free graviton by now. Right there, okay.
Do we want to take high ground?
All the way right, all the way
Okay,
right.
alright.
The shot.
Picking up Hanzo.
And then no nade.
I don't know, sleep.
Okay, so this is a bit of a big dick play. As a main tech, I can tell you the only reason why that worked is because their Rhino was also feeling extra big dick and wanted to get the charge in. But I would not recommend... Okay, so when you shattered them, let's have a look. You turn around the corner. Okay, so here's the thing, right? I don't know if you ever like have manners. Like in this case it worked, but I don't know if you ever have manners. But commonly around the first contact, you don't instantly press Q. So in this case it worked because their Rhino was feeling like equally aggressive, I suppose. I wanted to instantly get that charge in. But in general, you don't really open up with shatter like too much there. It's generally better reserved for combos or for like disruptive plays. And in this case, yeah, it ends up working. It was an actual monk guess. Like, I can just imagine the enemy team's communication right now. Like, I think they're pushing left side. Yeah, they're left side. And then they suddenly press shift and Q both right now. It's like, what?
Actual pepping up box.
Lucio, speed him, okay? I can say
I'm with the front line.
Yeah, so there's now 2 people on payload.
We have combo.
Okay, so I think Chris is on payload right now with Lucio, isn't he?
Yeah.
Okay. I think having Crystal Payload is perfectly fine because you can at least throw a Bob if it needs some extra range support. Or you could even have Hanzo on the cart if you want to get the Craft Dragon going. But I would definitely want plus go to tanks here because they have no mobility right now. Okay. Now kind of have to think of some things. Yeah. Okay. Now we can push him if we want. But like we're kind of taking this poker, which is fine. But we also want to like get the ultimates going that we don't have yet. So there'll definitely be this one. But we don't really want to take a fight like too risky here. Because by the time that the fight actually begins, we don't have resources anymore, and we're already being pushed pretty hard. Okay, but this is okay for you. Because they used 1, 2, 3, 4 simultaneously.
Yeah, they have used shadows by 2 shadows by now. Leo, how far is your shadow? Okay, you've got 50%.
I saw Valk as well.
Yeah, they used Valk, Nano, Shuttergraph.
Valk, Nano, Shuttergraph. Good tracking. Okay, so that means that in terms of team composition, your Graph Dragon is generally free if you get enough people in it.
You want me to use Bob here, this fight?
Yeah, we can use
Okay. So one of the things I want to highlight, I think Gadget also spoke about this a bit in our prep. What we want to do with Moira here?
Probably try and use it a bit later, try and use it in like mid fights. Using it early, try and open up stuff. I think your damage goes up like with 10 DPS per second, so basically barely anything. And healing goes up by really that much. It's like the only real healing ult you have right now, so in case people get low, you can say to your Lucio like, hey, you can keep it for something like Grav, and you can use Moira ult for mid fights where people get a bit more low.
Yeah.
Now you're trying to open up with it, so basically you're hoping for a Rhine or something to press shift and go hard in or something, that he takes a lot of damage.
Yeah.
Because otherwise value is quite a bit low.
But in this case, they can kind of just walk around the corner and negate the Moira ulti and just break line of sight.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So things get put in back and forth. Okay. Let's. Can't really comment on Doomfist too much, but one thing I want to highlight here. Right, this is very unlucky, but what most Ryan's will do is that they actually like they don't flick their shield. They generally flick their shield at full 180, and they generally turn. So always be on the same side as the Ryan. Like don't be like stuck in between Ryan's. Like be very committed either behind him or in front of him. And I think you might have had a bubble in there as well, so you could have maybe had what's it called? A Zarya bubble on there. That could have definitely helped against Doomfist ultimates.
No.
Alright. Stagger. Try to get out. Did we get staggered or no? Okay, we did not get staggered, luckily. But once again, it took fairly long to regroup. And so they used Bob Doomfists, and so did we actually, but we still haven't used our Grav combo. They're coming up on a new Valkyrie, have a new Nano Boost, have a new Shatter basically, and coming up on Grav again. You definitely want to be like a bit more decisive in your ultimate economy there, and you definitely want to use that Grav at some point, because if you get 1 Graviton by the time the enemy has 2, you basically lose 1 fight for free, like every now and then just because they have an extra Grav, and it's going to happen a lot. So you definitely want to be, what's it called? You would definitely want to be a bit more decisive when using that Graviton. Yes?
Question.
Yeah?
Is it worth to countercharge Bob as Ryan?
Yes, 100%. Full 100%. Because most Bobs, what Bobs will either do, they're going to put it at a cheeky position where you cannot deal with it, or they're going to use it for crowd control effect to knock you up. If you charge it early as Reinhardt, you basically negate both.
Okay.
Alright, so we do it eventually. Not. Yeah, okay. This is really unlucky, but we wanted to use a Grav Hanzo combo, right? I think that was called. Okay, so what is against a team that has no bait drop, no Mercy Life anymore, and no Transcendence? What is the role of a Reinhardt in a Graph Dragon? Just make sure it happens. Like, okay, this is already a bit aggressive, but sure. But by now, like, okay, perfect moment to use Graph Dragon. If you just literally hold up your shield as Reinhardt and make sure that your Hanzo can cast his dragon without any troubles, you've literally done your job. It might seem big because like you're playing very aggressively right now, and I know a lot of people like to make plays and whatnot, but it's like at many points in the main tank's life, especially Reinhardt, just holding your shield can do so much. Because in this case, nice, we're gonna Grav off, but our Hanzo is shattered and too close, and he gets nano boosted, and they have bubbles, and they get out.
Graft, use nano.
Get the Ryan, he's one.
So in this case, like, you had your Shatter and you had a Grav Dragon combo, so there was no value in you going extra aggressive if you wanted to use that Grav combo. So in that case, just use your Grav combo, they cannot deal with it, and then you kind of just hold up your shield and win it for free. Okay, we'll do take a pick here. Bob is on a cheeky angle and it's gonna get pushed by the payload. I like it.
Nice.
And there's someone up top left. Okay, we got him. Nice. Alright, so now the enemy team is actually very split.
5 people on payload, 3 people on payload.
Okay, so I want to know, did anyone notice that the Doomfist was still behind us?
Yeah, I called that.
Ah, okay, nice. Perfect, good job.
You're back in the fight. You can maybe try to...
The Reinhardt still up top? Okay.
Nere, good job of taking the target when he was dead.
Yeah, I lost the Ryan. I didn't know
It happens. But we got him again.
Ryan up top, okay.
Okay, so one thing I want to highlight here. We're all chasing him now, that's not needed. If your Reinhardt goes up here, and your Zarya stays on the payload with a Lucio or something, and just like one sniper taking angle, where can he go down? He's going to get pushed from this, pushed from this, pushed from this, pushed from this. Now in this case, he's basically, you're doing a wild goose chase, and he just gets out. And because he was all alone, if he sent 2 people to chase him, and the other people to catch him when he flees, that would have been perfect.
We can use cover left when
I actually tried so hard to put him in with the coach gun there. I failed though.
I know, but you didn't even have to make the coach gun play. You could have just like all not had 5 people chasing him. Right. There's a Genji behind us. There's a Reinhardt going in. A lot of things are going on, but we get a kill. Nice. Right. So in this case, with the Reinhardt going super deep, it's kind of time for you to get back crusted because your team cannot help you right now. And if their run is overextending this aggressively, if you just get back and pin him or swing once at him, he's probably dead.
We're down number.
Do we have Zarya levels? Okay, they used it on you.
I was low and I got beaten by the Doomfist. I saw him coming.
yeah.
So it's more like counter charge, and I hope I survive.
I see. What I usually do against Doomfist then, if he has already used his like counter, if I'm a bit out of position and he already uses Rocket Punch, I try to charge back to my team as quickly as I can.
It was like Rocket Punch. It's like no.
Ah yeah. Okay, we're charging in really close again. You could have almost fallen off the map, but it's just gone for a shorter charge. Okay, now we still have a Graph combo again, or we have a new one. Sorry. Nice pick. I think Dabs already said it. Same angles. Get some different angles. I think this would be a bit too aggressive, but if you have one person standing in the back of the payload and one person on here, that would have been a lot better already.
I can remember something with an Hammond at the end. I'm not sure.
Yeah, there will be.
Yeah, okay, fuck my life.
Okay, so one of the things I want to highlight here about the Graviton, we gotta pick early. Nice.
Yeah, they have blade. True.
They just swapped to a Zenyatta, so not really enough ult charge there. This could have been in Graph somewhere around these parameters if there are enough people close. Could have graphed the Doomfist Reinhardt maybe. But instead we get graphed ourselves, and where we would have had a one-man advantage, we instead get counter-ulted.
Here, counter-graph.
Or yeah, like I said, counter-graph the Reinhardt. In general, this is maybe something you'll see a bit more like towards higher tiers of play, but a lot of Zaryas at higher levels, they will start to use Grav in a more defensive manner as well. That means Nana was a Reinhardt, that's a solo Grav. Nana Blade, that's a solo Grav. Nana was a Doomfist, or Nana was a Brigade, I'm not having it, that's a solo Grav. So in this case, like you could have either Graved more aggressively and like actually confront fight quickly, or like Dabs is saying, as soon as you see that Nana Reinhardt, keep your distance from him, grab him out. So now we do end up kind of clutching this, but we kind of traded back and forth. And as we could see, our Hanzo had to make all the shenanigans in the world to actually get the dragon going.
I always do that because when I stand still during the dragon, I got killed a few times, and ever since then I always lunge while the dragon.
I see.
I know, it's a habit.
Right, we do get some kills back and forth. Is Rana coming back? Rana's uber free kill. Okay, we're going for Zen instead, that's okay. Okay, now I actually have some split angles, this is much better.
Not Pepika anymore.
Indeed. Okay, we get the kills here, this is good. Keep focusing, nice.
Sorry for leaving you a little bit too long without help.
That is alright, we got him. Okay.
Peeling the...
Oh, okay, so what we're playing? We're playing Megan with Choke. In general, Devious, I would recommend, like, in most compositions, Moira isn't really run as much, so in general, I would focus on playing Ana and Zen more. In this case, kind of similar, if you want to wall off that Reinhardt, there's one thing that punishes him even harder if they go through this choke. That's an anti-nade or a sleep dart.
I'm gonna hold the choke and let them in, so make
Yeah,
them
I'll just bomb
Just let some,
whoever as
hold
much
a bit
as possible.
back and let them walk in.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one of the things I'm noticing now, we have no scouting with our Mei wall. You could have maybe had someone positioned up top the statue, maybe someone close to the bus and just done a quick peek. But in this case, we have no clue what they're running.
For the first push.
No widow?
We have we don't even have a clue where they are.
Okay,
Now we start finding it out. Okay. Zarya, if you get pushed here, you're pretty much dead. Not even pretty much, you are just dead. And in this case, if you're playing with Mei, you want to hold closer with your Reinhardt. And you do eventually get the big pin, but if you're playing what's it called with Mei there, you definitely want to hold up around here maybe, or even closer with a trap.
Stay brick.
Okay.
We've almost demaxed.
Freeze is right, that's nice. Throw a damage orb.
Oh, shit.
Unlucky wall.
It's okay.
Okay. Reset,
pinning you back there.
positions, reset position.
Reset positions.
Got wall again.
Okay, so this is pretty risky because running Mei on this point means you have to kind of play around here, and it's very telegraphic when if your runner is standing here, right? It's very telegraphic. You have something waiting around the corner. It's pretty strong on the archway, but we'll see how you end up playing this out.
Yeah, they're going up.
They're going top, okay. What do we want to do now?
Just stay point,
Just stay point, okay. Just stay point means we give up the value of a Mei wall. And I think this wall is really good, but if you want to play with a Mei, you actually want to play around these chokeholds and maneuver in between them so you can punish them. Because in this case, if you go on point, I mean, all fine. But that basically means that you can get no value out of this Mei wall.
Only two down here.
They're in the front.
You don't stay too far down. They can surround you if we stay on point. Just keep Reinhardt on the edge of point.
Okay.
I think as Ash, you really want to stand on the high ground here as well, because they're playing ghosts, they have nothing to really contest you, and you're only able to shoot shields and whatever. So if you take the high ground, you can pressure their backline easier.
Alright.
Split, break on fire, they're on fire, break one.
Okay, get a pin for a pin. Or turn sentence, okay.
Rotate, okay.
Okay, so we're here to start thinking about something, so I actually want to quickly replay this. So we're playing against goats. Okay, that's pretty annoying for our Reinhardt because we do not have goats ourselves. Alright, so a couple things. What I like to do, my old team played a fair amount of Mei, so if you're playing Reinhardt, you want to really play a baiting style of main tank. That means you want to position yourself in a position that, or in a spot that seems very vulnerable, but it can also be punished. Then you want to bait the aggro onto you and then have it be separated by the Mei wall. Alternatively, because you have an Asher, you want to really focus on getting that Bob charge up quickly, because I can tell you one thing, your runner is not going to last long against a full Zen Ghost rushing at him. So having that Bob just alleviates so much pressure off of him. It's insane. Try to focus on getting that Ash up, and try to focus on maybe getting a bit of a bait with your Mei and your main tank. In this case, we get the wall here. And it kind of ends up working where we charge in really deep. And against goats, you're going to get punished very quickly. Okay, we start resetting. So once again, we're like all over the place. There's a Moira and a Mei both firing at the max range of their beam, and there's a Lucio dancing around somewhere. We're still 2 down. And once again, like stick to your positions and also like stick to whatever plan you want to have. Because in this case, we end up staggering a lot, and we're all over the place.
So what do you like recommend against goats? Like mostly range, I guess.
Goats.
Okay.
Mostly range,
Okay.
I guess.
If you want to play,
we don't play goats, by the way, because the 2 DPS refuse to play break.
it happens. So there's different things you can.
No offense, though. I can understand that.
If you want to play with the Mei, I would rather do
That
this
has
instead of
never been said.
Be quiet. Dab says something.
Say it, so I guess
Guys,
you're playing a
Chris,
break now
quiet.
for our team.
Break?
Quiet. Dab says something. What's up?
Rogue.
Goku break player, yes?
instead of the Ashe, I would rather Doomfist then with the Mei.
Yep. We played a lot of Doomfist Mei on this point. There's different ways you can go about it. One of which is playing like very strict anti-tank heroes. That would be Doomfist, Mei, Sombra, and just mess with their abilities or their general ability to play the game. Alternatively, you could play double spam, and in that case, you're looking at things like Pharah, Junkrat, Hanzo. Those are like the go-to options. Or just play Ghost yourself and get better at it. Like 99% of all EU teams.
I did find out that like Bastion and Symmetra works really good against it.
Bastion and Symmetra, what main tank? Reinhardt or Orisa?
Orisa.
Okay, in that case, there's one thing I always find problematic with Symmetra. She's being vulnerable to being overrun as well. But if you want to get value out of the TP, like there's one TP here and one TP there, right? For instance, it always takes like a second or two to actually set it up. So there's always a bit of downtime where a team is kind of just standing around and has to get the TP going. In that case, you need shielding on this end and on this end. So against Orisa, Bastion, and whatnot, and Symmetra, it can work on some maps, but do keep in mind, you don't have a flexible shield, so if they ever catch you without one, you're pretty much doomed. They can still focus down TP quite effectively, and alternatively, at some point, the Zengoat is going to come in with a B-drop, with a rally that's going to give everyone 300 HP, and then Transcendence comes in with a Grav Diva Bomb. And trust me, like either you just completely get the kill off the Diva Bomb with Grav, or you just force the positioning out. And like,
so I guess the Sombra is a good idea against it.
Sombra is super good against goats because denies any B-drop value, can prevent this value, can completely mess with this one, completely messes with this one, and can get a good rough on this one. So the only one that can really still do something is Brig. So Sombra is definitely a good pick. And depending on what your other DPS is, you're probably looking at either hacking Reinhardt or Deva or Lucio. Reason being, what most Sombras, or what most Sombra-based compositions do, is that they use the hack to really disable one target in the enemy team that needs their abilities up all the time. So a Lucio that doesn't that is hacked cannot wall ride, cannot boop, I think, cannot heal or speed boost or amp. All of his abilities gone. Reinhardt no longer has a shield, no longer has a charge key, no longer has an ultimate, no longer has a fly strike. Deva can no longer fly or flick missiles and matrix up and down. Those are like kind of go-to things. And otherwise it's very specific things like, oh, we need to hack the Zen so we can get Blade off. Stung them with Bob? Okay. So we were losing that fight. Okay. I would say that like this fight was really messy because we staggered up, but also we're kind of using Bob here to not die to stagger pushes. And we're pushing deep again. We get grabbed. And that means something, Crested. When there's a graviton going on in your team, you gotta be there for the blocking. Okay. One thing I wanna... Okay. Things get very messy here on all ends, so I wanna like just replay this fight as a whole.
This is chaos.
A bit chaos, yeah. But let's just look at some compositional things. Zengoats likes to use Grav Diva Bomb. What can counter a Grav Diva Bomb? Different angles of immortality and a Mei wall in this case. So if you get grabbed, in this case, there's several things you can do. A lot of Divas, what they tend to do is throw the Grav on the floor, in which case you can save your wall simply to wall off the Diva Bomb, and you're pretty much good to go. That denies any charge follow-up in most cases, and Diva Bombs. You can also hide behind Mei's cone, and then you also have Zarya bubbles and Reinhardt's shield. So I'm gonna draw it up soon. Okay, throwing on a Bob to not die. Ryan's trapped. I could see why you want to use the wall there. Unlucky. But now let's start thinking about some things. We're still pushing. There's a graph going on, and we're not there. Get shattered. Unlucky. Okay. Alright. Right, so I'm gonna stop playing it here now. Okay, so in this case they used the Diva Bomb very late, but they did use a Graviton. One of the best things to deal with Gravitons is using what I call like corners of invulnerability. An example of this, if your Mei is pressing shift or ice cone in front of something, then the explosion doesn't hurt anyone behind her, right? So if you're caught in a Graviton and you have a Reinhardt positioned here, you have, let's say, a Mei on this side, you have a Brigitte on this side, and you have a Zarya on this side. If Zarya has both bubbles online, that means Mei can press shift or her wall to cover one angle and not get blown up by the Diva Bomb with anyone behind her as well. Brig has her self-shield, can cover the other angle. Zarya with self-bubble at the right time can deny a Diva Bomb and anything behind from getting the value. Reinhardt's shield can do it as well. They'll probably pin your Reinhardt out or at least stun him. That means you need your Zarya's team bubble as well to either bubble the Reinhardt so he doesn't get fucked, or to bubble whoever's trapped in the middle here. That's really what you want to do. If the enemy team has a Graviton, you want to play around heroes that can actually live through a, what's it called? A Diva Bomb Grav combo by just sheer invulnerability. In most team comps, it's Zenyatta using Transcendence to just cover himself as well. But you want to position accordingly in this case. It's pretty advanced, but like you really want to position in a way where you always have those four corners covered, and then anyone who's trapped in the middle of it kind of gets cornered if the Brick Shield is just co-aligning with the Zarya bubble and whatnot. Those are the things you want to keep in mind when you're playing against a Graviton Diva Bomb combo. And once again, we get staggered.
Yeah, that's goats for you. Alright.
That is goats, but we're also very split and staggered.
Maybe to Hunter. High ground.
How do you counter goats without goats? I didn't know how to counter goats. I actually don't know that well.
It's spam heroes or heroes that just disrupt goats. And oftentimes Hammond is picked alongside as well.
Go Hunter.
Sombra Doomfist.
Sombra Doomfist, get a Hammond in there.
I'm interested in Bastion actually to just spam the damage down.
Anna Mercy are good supports.
Kinda trash though.
Sorry? Doomfist now?
Doomfist. Yeah.
Yeah, rightfully so.
Yeah. No, what? Okay.
I hate him, dude. No, I mean, the thing is, Doomfist was good at countering the Goats comp when he was strong, but Doomfist in himself was way too strong, just like I feel that Brig is also a bit too strong. And that creates a situation where you kind of needed Doomfist to be good, but you also kind of need them not to be good. Okay, but now we have to think of some things.
Some shield management.
It's not shield management on personal level, but also, are we pushing this or not? Nervos is saying yes. Rest of you? Graf gets thrown in.
You're alone though.
Okay, unlucky, we're alone. If you're being pushed so hard that you can't contest point B anymore, then you should tell your team. And in this case, maybe Nervos would have held on to the Grav. Or if you see him pushing up, you could have at least maybe all backed him up. In this case, like, oh shit, there's one person running forward and they have a Graviton. And yeah, we end up getting the pin here and end up like cleaning it up off like some big plays. But in general, having your Zarya on the point there alone and using Graviton was not ideal, and you were just so split and pushed there.
He's played to playing dive.
Yeah.
It's like the thing I don't match with him. I play slow comp, he plays dive a lot. He like dive characters a lot.
I see.
So I have to grow.
They have bomb,
too.
they use shatter.
I mean, it may be like a thing of what's it called, compositions that you're used to playing, but your playstyles mix up generally quite well, so that's something in your benefit. One thing I want to highlight there, okay, they have Goats comp. What's going to C9 cap us? Practically nothing. If we keep one person in the general proximity, we should be fine. So where do you want to hold? Probably here. Makes it hard for them to push through. They have no relevant flanks or angles. At least the ones, like any angle they want to take, we can see. And moreover, if we lose one person, we can probably get back quite in time. But in this case, we are all on point. So we can take damage from this side, and from the far left now. Because we cannot control that space anymore. And we're suddenly quite close in the face of Goats, and they're on the payload practically. Okay, it's both the portals, yes. But we get shattered. So in general, because now, like when you're fighting on point, you're always making it last fight territory for this, what's it called, the second streets phase. And also you don't have any relevant space in terms of covering flanks, where if you had the health back control there, you would not have ever like given up those flanks easily, if they wanted to use them.
Those are big staggering kills.
Yes. One of the things I want to highlight as well, you mentioned like how do you counter Goats without running Goats. Hanzo's a good pick. Ashe can work, but if you have double sniper, double spam, what are you missing? Damage amp. So you could definitely run a Mercy in there, possibly Zen for some Discord, or you can even throw an Ana in there for the anti-nade. But this support duo, it's like using a bit of duct tape to fix something. It kind of might work, but then again, it's not really a proper fix. Like in this case, you can maybe keep your run up for a bit until he like gets run over, but it's not like you're actually going to counter the Goats combo with Moira Lucio here.
But then we need more duct tape, so we get more and more Moiras next time.
Yeah, you can definitely go for, what's it called? Season 1, where you can pick 6 Moiras and stall on point. Alright, once again, we get pushed, take some damage, David's rally. Davies is almost dead. Use B-drop to engage, it's actually good, but now that we like use B-drop to engage, we have to get some value done, boys. Like, something has to die now, or we're completely screwed. We get grabbed. We haven't killed anything. The D-Vom comes in. Ryan dies. We have no immortality. We're dead. Unlucky. We're gonna retake with Graf Dragon, okay? One of us dies. Staggered kill. Second one dies. Staggered kill. Third one dies. Staggered kill.
Always die on payload.
That's a very good, like, we used to say this as well, like, what we oftentimes said is wipe on card or wipe on point, something like that. So in this case, they got all the progress in, and now we're pushed, and we're pretty much screwed. Get a grab on point, nice. The Bob on point somewhere. But there's no way we can meaningfully get back in time or deal meaningful damage there. Okay, we do have some time to look in the pulse hill, and yeah, it was a bit of a short match, but we'll look at it for the sake of looking at it, and it was submitted, so why not?
Now we're in 1.5, by the way.
Sorry?
1.5 hours.
I mean, the last one was also 2 hours that we did a team VOD review. Okay. Assemble your heroes, sure thing. I like it.
Love this map for Genji.
True.
So you
Prepare to attack. Okay, so we're running.
Frustration was pretty high on this map, I must add on to it.
Yeah, I know.
You're supposed to not take
Right,
damage.
but let's look at some compositions here. Alright, so this is like, I think Dabs mentioned as well, it's like a Season 2 style of composition. Reinhardt, Zarya, Lucio, Pharah, Mercy with McCree. There's some really old school stuff, if I remember correctly.
And we're just
Good
gonna
for us as well.
Okay, Pharah, Mercy, Pharah, Mercy.
The Mercy is one.
Okay, we get the Mercy now, that's nice. Trade 1 for 1, that's interesting.
Round one.
Alright, so one thing here, Leroy, you definitely want to counter charge if you have it.
I didn't have it.
I see. Then you want to play in a position where you cannot get charged.
Round one.
Because now you just take the full
Yeah,
350
well,
damage.
I want to go back.
Yeah, okay. Then you should maybe like call it like speed back or something.
Gotcha. Makkelijk.
That's some Dutch in there, I like it.
How did you?
Too much.
Too much.
Too much.
Yeah, but
It's also kind of a thing, yeah, it's really hard to keep up your tank line if you have a Lucio. If you, especially if you like fully commit to pocketing the Pharah.
So Lucio is alone healing the tanks. But they have it too, so...
They have Ana.
sorry. Yeah.
You could have taken positional advantage, or could have maybe taken dive even.
Paris, the buff
Take some damage back and forth.
Oh, that Pharah got me.
Nice, we're going all over the place.
Shut it down.
Alright, so one thing I wanted to highlight as well, like, it didn't end up getting punished here, but if the farmer has control over the point, you can never push through this, because that means Pharah is going to hover over this, and their hunt is going to spam in there as well. So, all of your damage, partially damage boosted, is going to be concentrated on this doorway, and you have to walk through it. And there's no way you're going to like really live through it once their ultimates are coming online. Yeah, we trade kind of back and forth, but then the barrage comes in, they have better positioning. It's kind of still 1-for-1 equal. I have no clue how you ended up there, Chris. How on earth did you end up on the enemy spawn side?
Because I was pushing that side. Just go back.
Yeah, but still.
Just look where we push it.
And go dive in on Hanzo, kill him,
Wait.
and then go into the door frame.
Yeah, look.
Okay.
Get hit by a rocket, don't care.
Okay.
Keep walking.
It might have worked now, but I would not recommend this under any circumstance whatsoever. Okay, that worked. I would not recommend this, you were all alone.
3 heroes only North right now. And we're all 6 back.
Alright, so it was a bit messy, but okay, they end up cleaning it up. But you could have been punished so easily there. Yeah, we're calling that we're gonna rest, which is good. We're resting Amora as well, which can help us sustain on point. That's nice. And we end up clutching this, surprisingly enough. Right, and I believe that Dabs by now wanted to say something about the Pharah play, from what I remember.
Yeah, well, their Pharah is just dominating US, so without this Mercy there, but I can't remember what I said there exactly of this play. But I think their Pharah was like, you were not getting any value of your Pharah because you were losing the ground battle because they had an Ana, and their Pharah was killing your Pharah Mercy, so I would have swapped the Pharah there because, yeah. That was what I said.
I noticed that as well in game, but at this point I had barrage, so I didn't want to swap.
I see.
Leaving it.
I'll keep in mind, the Pharah that has control over the point generally has advantage in the barrage battle, because you can set up work much easier.
Let's cool down.
But she's not really contested here.
Indeed. One lonely Chris, so that's rough. Okay, so now we have no DPS, and things are starting to get rough.
We made it. Okay, we lost this fight. We're down 3 numbers.
Die point.
Okay, dying quickly, this is good.
Narrow boss, can you keep bubble for me? Then I'm gonna barrage next fight.
So now you swap to Moira.
So we invest
Did last fight. Yeah, like after first fight, I believe.
We should actually be front here, guys.
But I would go Ana versus Zafara.
Yeah, go straight main. Go straight main.
Okay, we're making the call to not go top, that's good.
Go main. Listen, go main.
Lucky we lose one, staggered.
Lacking speed. I'm gonna rest this, and I need a...
And we need a bit of healing, yeah. And we lose one again, staggered.
You're alone there, Farah, so...
Yeah.
You're taking the fight alone. Versus a Farah Mercy, you're never gonna win there. Well, unless you're lucky, of course.
Unless you hit all double shots consecutively at all times. Yeah, we get staggered some more, so by now it's definitely the same case again. Regroup effectively and make the call.
Also, as a Mercy, always call that you're gonna rest somebody.
I think he did it last 2 times.
I don't know, I'm just saying in general.
Yeah, in general, yeah. Alright, so definitely there were some compositional issues there, but also some regrouping issues. Right, second map will be Shrine.
The fire was popping up there, dude.
Yeah, not gonna lie, good shots.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a bit too far. I'm silly. Okay, so we're playing. Okay, this is interesting. If you had Winston, Dave here, and maybe an Ana, this would have been like a proper dive combo, so it would have been pretty good.
That's my point. This team is
Okay, they have Junkrat, McCree. Alright, so here's some things that are rough. Oh, that's a bit too far. You have a Diva. If your Reinhardt ever gets antied, or flashbanged, or knocked by Junkrat, or trapped, he's doomed. Antied. Flashbang's been used. And now you have like a lot of healing with Moira, but if you cannot deal with that Anonade, you're pretty much doomed. Yeah, positioning was a bit too aggressive there against the spam. That's something you can deal with more specifically. Nice deflect. Right, and here's the same thing again, Chris. Like, I think we like went over this, and I think what happened eventually is that when you started pushing here, I think you were dealing with their McCree on the left side, was that correct? So we see you going left, left, left.
He killed the McCree.
Yeah.
McCree left side.
Okay, get the McCree pick. But in this case, you're a mid-range sniper and you do not have Mercy or Zen. So this one cannot heal you, this one cannot heal you, this one's out of mech. Genji's not going to help you too much, he's not really supportive or tanky character, and Rana cannot help you. So going off on this like very elaborate flank at some point, they're going to end up on. You have no mobility, no self-sustain, don't even have an insta-kill because you don't have damage on, and you have no one to help you out, so this is really rough to stay there.
I'm done after this, by the way. I'm kind of done already by dying instantly. I'm holding up a shield.
Saving her now. Focus a bit alone here. I would just say
Big staggers.
big staggers, but despite being frustrated, just like try to get all the value you can out of the scrim itself. Just stay focused on it. Yeah, we lose one now to a stagger again. We're still kind of pushed here. Yes, tank shield down.
They probably have shadow right now. Hero, you're pushing in alone.
Lucio.
Let's retreat. You're super low. You're super low. Get out. Fully
Okay,
retreat.
still staggering. Okay, now we're going to call for full reset, that's good.
Use coalescence, then you have to switch to Ana.
Good call.
What?
Okay, that's a close coalescence.
That wasn't white man, but that.
Can we get more damage on
Nah, but I can't get anything in with Moira, so...
Then goes Zarya.
So now we're swapping. We're swapping a bit
We
late.
push left side. We push left side.
Okay, there's Riptire.
Spinning around.
Individual tip. As a Reinhardt player, you want to be with that Riptire. Because either you're going to get blown up, in which case, well, the main tank's dead, no more ult charge for them. Or you can alternatively block it with your shield if you get the flick timing just right.
Back to spawn. Everyone back to
Or flame strike it.
Indeed, that's the ultimate big play. Once again, our Rhino went on the other side when retreating, and these people went here, so stay on the same side when retreating, if possible.
Okay, we push in. We go...
Top
left
right.
side.
Top right.
Yeah, top right. Yeah, top right. They have Junkrat. True.
Top right, okay.
There's gonna be death trap.
Still pretty risky, but we can try it.
Yeah, then no. There's a Lucio here.
You'll be for it, alright.
Go right, alright.
Lose one. Unlucky.
Gotta push, otherwise we're feeding.
You're gonna push, okay. Now the question is, do we commit to this fight, yes or no? Okay, now we don't anymore, but it's 10 seconds remaining, so...
Pull back. We lost 2 numbers. Get back, get back, get back.
We want to get these calls in quickly, like,
Yeah, run away.
So by now, by the time that we said, okay, let's go back, it was 10 seconds, and there were 2 people in spawn.
I can beat.
And yeah, you lose some ults every now and then, unlucky, but there was no way that everyone's going to be able to touch point and get a team fight in by that time. And yeah, we do eventually get a blade in, but it's already a bit too late, of course. Right.
Okay.
Alright, so that's all the maps reviewed in a little under 2 hours, so I think what we'll do is just start, what's it called? But it's a bit too far. Then we're just going to sort of get a bit of a summary going when the screen is a bit darker.
I can beat.
Oh. Okay. I just want to get a nice little dark screen where I can actually draw again, I love it.
Okay.
This works well enough, why not? Okay, so we want to go over some team communication first. So in general, most teams have one target caller, one shot caller, maybe well known. Shot caller is commonly the main support. Gadget can elaborate on that. In your team, that would be Plusky on the Lucio and the Mercy predominantly. And your target caller is mostly your main tank. Reason being, he's the one who actually initiates, has the shortest range, and generally the lowest damage output. So if everyone can damage what the main tank's damaging, that's perfect. So we went over the target calling already. It's generally naming a hero with a location and a status. If you combine those three, then we'll definitely get some clear calls going. If you've already taken presence on a point, you can definitely just say the name a couple more times. They don't have to go through the entire build again, but in general, this is a good way to start off with, both in terms of pre-planning and then executing a target call mid-fight. If the main tank is dead, which occasionally happens, there's a couple of people that can take over the target calling role quite effectively. It's either the flex DPS, and that seems to mostly be Foku in your team, or it can alternatively be the off tank. Those are the two common ones.
We have the off tank, no?
Off tank, okay.
Yeah, we spoke after.
Okay.
This. We
yeah.
all the things
all right.
clear.
Nice, but okay, I didn't. So maybe things have changed, but he wasn't very vocal in this scrum view specifically. So is he talking a lot more now? If you're dead on Reinhardt, or
yeah.
Okay, that's good then. So then you're just the off tank. It's a bit late to review those now, but okay, then at least you have your comms straight in that part. So what you'll see is that the main tank is really the dedicated target caller, and those will commonly be quite common throughout the fight. Gadget can elaborate on what the shotcaller should do as a main support.
I would just start with try not ult track, just try to do it yourself with most of the team, but your team can also help a bit with ult tracking their counters. Like for instance, your Ryan says hey, yeah, their Ryan has his ult or almost has his ult. From that, you can try and make a plan with yourself with the ults you have. Like for instance, you have D.Va, Bomb, and Zarya ult, but they have 5 ults, so you can try and use it quite fast. And after that, you try and give some space for the people you say that you want them to use their ults. To also give them the space to talk. Like if you want your Zarya and your D.Va to combine, you want to be sure that they that your Zarya says okay, D.Va, you ready? I'm grabbing now. Then Ryan can maybe even pin the Ryan out so that the D.Va bomb for sure gets 2 or 3 people with it. Things like that.
And in general as well, you want to call when you're pushing and when you're maybe retreating. So we definitely want to ult track, ult manage, and set up your own players to do their part. So like you said, if you're playing a GOATS composition, which you don't really tend to do in this team specifically, but if you're playing a certain composition in which 2 people need to combine their ultimates effectively, you really want to leave some space in the communication so they can actually set up their plays correctly. That leaves us with another thing. Definitely just calling fights in general, I would say. Just are we taking this fight, yes or no? Maybe even where are we going to some extent. And I would say also, either the main tank can do this, or the main support here. Keep the up and down calls going. If you say 1 up, that's clear. If you say 2 up, that probably means no ultimates needed anymore. If one person gets rest, it's 1 up again. Just keep those communications going, and it will always be clear to people who is alive and who is dead. So hopefully this will help you a bit in setting up some general communicative structure. Okay. Then I want to go into some compositional things for a bit, so I'll delete this. If I don't need to take a screenshot, do it in the next 10 seconds, and then I'll go into composition, sorry. Okay, so, as for compositions then, okay, so you guys do like to play 2-2 comps with actual DPS here, so no Brigitte, no Zarya, Goats, and all that, right?
No Goats, no.
Okay, so in terms of DPS that you like to play sniper compositions, right? Let's do as for sniper. Okay, so with snipers, there's 2 things that work really well. They're called Mercy and Zen, and they're probably a sniper's best friend because they just have extra range damage and damage amplification, which just helps set up your damage a lot more. And on most maps, that means Mercy plus Zen. And on most maps, maybe besides King's Row or something, that also means you want to have Winston D.Va. Reason being, Mercy and Zen don't heal much at all, and they don't have any utility that really helps tanks, so you cannot really run those brawly face tanking type of tanks that take a lot of damage, because you cannot sustain that. So on most maps, that also means Winston D.Va, so you can do with a little bit less healing, and maybe even contest some high grounds. Very handy. Sometimes you guys do like to run dives. That'll be in your case, that's Sombra Genji, if I'm not mistaken. Once again.
Yeah, Sombra Genji, Tracer.
In Tracer, yeah, but like actual close dive, getting up on the enemy supports and getting in there. Okay, so that will mean definitely Winston plus Diva, of course. Lucio these days very common, and in most cases it's oftentimes Ana. Reason being, she actually pumps out some healing if your tanks have to engage. If you like playing with a Genji, that also means that you will be having a Nano Blade. And if you even play with a Sombra, that means you can take any like offensive push if you take any offensive push, that means you can at some point have a EMP Diva Bomb followed up by a Nano Blade, and that'll definitely secure some points. This comp with like Sombra plus Genji is really good on offense, but it can sometimes struggle on defense a bit. So you can also opt for some hybrid things, like having Widowmaker Genji, for instance, that you can kind of just play around with some supports, but this is just like a generally good grid. And they like to play some, I'm just going to call AG, anti-goats, right? At least you attempt to. Okay, let's divide these in two. We have spam heroes. So we have, I'm going to say Pharah and Junkrat, for instance. Could be another spam hero, but just like some general, a lot of damage output, a lot of bulk. This one goes well with a Mercy for sure. And you could opt to play Mercy Ana in this case, because if you're playing anti-goats, in my experience at least, having Mercy Ana just provides a lot of utility, because you have Anti-Nate, Sleep Dart, and Damage Amp. And moreover, if the Goats Comp actually starts rushing someone, and for instance the Ana, you can grenade yourself and then get Mercy healed, so it just takes a lot longer for him to kill you. And on top of that, you also have a res to really negate that effect of getting that one rushed kill. So I'm just going to list Ana here for now, but you can also opt to with the Zen if you want to be really aggressive. And then it will be kind of map dependent. But on most maps, it's once again, it's no Reinhardt Zarya, because there's no way that your Reinhardt Zarya will stay alive against a Goats comp, barring some very specific maps like King's Royal League Control Center. You could play Hammond Diva, you could play Winston Diva, you could play Orisa Diva, something like that. But you want to play something that can keep that distance from the Goats comp. So I'm just going to list it as, it's called 2 tanks, and then 2 tanks that can actually keep that distance from it. And then alternative anti-Goats comps would be an anti-Goats comp that really messes with the enemy team's ability, in this case the Goats comp, to really get their abilities and like ability rotations and cycles going. That would be definitely a Sombra, and then possibly maybe a Mei, maybe a Doomfist, something along those lines. And then you can definitely, once again, if you're playing Mei Doomfist, you can definitely have an Ana and Lucio in there to create some speed boost on them, because their damage is quite limited at times. And you can also still get the anti-nate going with Ana and the Sleep Dart to punish any tank aggression. So that'd be plus Lucio, plus Ana. And then with this comp, you could actually play, what's it called? If you're playing Sombra Doomfist, you can do it with Winston Diva or some other mobile tank. If you're playing Mei Sombra or Mei Doomfist, I would say you want to have Ryan Zarya there. And once again, 2 tanks. So hopefully, in terms of compositions, because we saw they were at times a bit messy, at least I hope that these like go-to compositions from what you guys seem to like to play could maybe help you out a bit. And then once you have like your team communication going and you have your like set, what's it called? Your set team compositions, it's going to be quite easy to just like deduce some good team strategies. And I think Tomok can help you with this as well because he's coaching you. But then you should be able. Yeah. So then you, with like that in mind, having good team communication and good team compositions, you should very soon be able to get some very good map-specific strategies and just get some really good playstyles for yourselves. And once you have that going, yeah, then you can just definitely get your rollouts and your positionings and all that fine-tuned. Any questions on this that I can still record?
No.
Okay. It's a lot to take in, so...
It's a lot, yeah, but it's recorded.
I'm sure I'll have questions, but not right now.
Yeah, okay. So if there's no questions from anyone in the team itself, is there any question from, what's it called? Anyone who was just spectating?
No.
Okay. Let me stop recording then.